All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast series. But the QA is the important part. Obviously, we stands for question and answer, the Some Gadget Guy Q&A podcast show. Burr, burr, burr. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. And it's the last Monday of the month. It's where we let our hair down, if we have hair, which I do not. It's where we let the chat kind of take the wheel. I have a couple topics and like housekeeping and stuff that I do want to talk about. Just kind of like lead off some discussion, but we're going to go wherever the chat wants to take us. We can follow up on news from CES, or we can talk about concept phones, or we can get into some of the dirtier politics of social media. Everything's going to be fair game. So I'll be curious to see where we go this week for the pajama podcast. I'm actually wearing my pajama shirt underneath my hoodie. I am seriously considering buying pajamas that I don't wear to sleep in for the pajama podcast, so I have a costume. But I hope everybody out there is having a lovely week, that you had a lovely weekend. Hopefully you're staying safe from all of the terrible situations happening in our news and our politics right now. Hopefully you're staying safe from all the crazy weather that we've been having. Just further, evidence of, global and climate instability and climate change and global warming with these crazy storms that are hitting the country right now. It's been a lot. Last week was pretty rough. I wasn't able to publish as much as I wanted to. We just had some issues here at home that I had to kind of stay on top of. And following those issues, my body went, oh, well, now that this high stress thing that you have had to deal with is done, how about you get a bad cold? And so I've spent the last 4 days just like as snotty as possible. I'm snotty pretty much on the regular, right? I'm pretty regularly snotty. This is like next level, like illness snotty. So please, I apologize. Please pardon. Throughout this, I'm probably going to be hitting the mute a lot more active just to like snortle and drink and keep the biology off the microphone. So there might be some just weird gaps in this week's show. I'm already seeing a lovely crew of folks here in the live chat. Jimmy Fire Dragon wishing everyone a happy hello. We've got Furchinville saying hola Juan. We've got Simon Says Hypno wishing everyone a happy time zone. H2O Taku giving us away. We had Georgie pop by during the pre-show just to say hey, but Georgie's gonna catch us on the replay. We always love the replay crew, people who catch the podcast after, both the audio version, which you can subscribe to on various podcast services, and of course the replays on Twitch and YouTube. Actually, you know what? There is also, this is hilarious. If you want, you can also catch the replay on LinkedIn. I don't recommend spending any time on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a terrible social network. But if that's where you find yourself and you want the distraction, the podcast also ends up there too. We got Big Jeffro saying good morning, everyone. Just giving us a pound. Got Bradley Larcher saying happy Monday. Jeremy Moat saying hello, everyone. We got Azariah saying magnificent, majestic, magnanimous, miraculous, meticulous, merciful, motivational, Monday morning Juan, and esteemed chat. I could not get that as fast as I normally can. Vazico saying hello, good people. Jeremy Moat, because of the ice, I don't have work, so this is the first SGGQA I've caught in a long time. Woo, snow day. You know what's funny to me, and I live in Southern California, so it's not like we're ever going to have a snow day. Ever. Hopefully, knock on wood, that the weather doesn't get that bad. But to me, it's as I get older, like snow day as a kid was this fun idea, like, oh, I can like stay home from school. As I get older, it's, oh no, the snow and weather are so bad. This is actually kind of terrifying that our city's infrastructure can't handle it. So I've like become even more of a disaster prepper in like situations where I think there might be calamity or weather or wildfires or earthquakes. We got Ron GKP saying, hoping everyone is staying warm. We got John Gao saying, happy Monday, nerds. JGJ, I'm working from home due to frozen ice roads. Again, I hope you all are well stocked. I mean, just like keep your heads down, just try and get through. And the nice thing is like, if you've got a workstation like mine with a ridiculously oversized power supply, it also doubles as a space heater. I got a ridiculous pitch. I'm already off my patter off my script. I got a ridiculous pitch from a company, PR company, and they reached out and they have we this exciting new product. We think your audience is going to love it. You know, we've really dug deep into your channel and your stats and your metrics, and it was a Bitcoin mining device that doubles as a space heater. That was their pitch. Something that's going to consume a ridiculous amount of electricity to mine Bitcoin, and mining Bitcoin isn't a super prosperous endeavor right now. Like the limited number of Bitcoins that can be sort of found in this sort of tally and hash are dwindling, right? We're starting to get to that point where the costs associated with finding the last remaining Bitcoins aren't really worth the effort it takes to mine them unless you're running one of these like data center mining operations and you've got access to almost free electricity. It was just ridiculous to me. Like at this time, that's when you're coming out with this product, and your pitch is it heats your room. And I just want people to think about, like, I make jokes. Like, I've got this big workstation. It's got a Threadripper. It's got a huge power supply. It's got a 4070 Ti. Like, this is kind of an inefficient computing machine for a lot of the tasks I run on it. When I really need horsepower and torque, it's there for me. But it's kind of overkill when I'm just like surfing and writing a script. I try not to write on this machine anymore. I'll break out my laptop instead. I just like can't imagine that that's their pitch in the year 2026 is a computer that runs so hot it can double as a space heater. So if anyone wants more information on that, hit me up on private chats. I don't feel like advertising the company after I turned down, and it wasn't even like a legit sponsored video. It was another one of those, we really value long-term commitment and you can have one if you make 6 videos and then also say nice things about the company and follow our script, and here's an affiliate link. And you're like, this is a huge waste of my time and I'm not gonna subject my audience to this. But if you're curious who the company is, hit me up on the private Discord and I'll share there who is offering such an amazing deal for me to do a whole ton of promotional work for their benefit. JGJ actually heard about Bitcoin mining heaters on a Bitcoin podcast ad. No joke. I can't believe that this is like a product that they're really trying to move. Luther Build saying good morning. And Jeremy Mode also saying, not me running my NAS on my old gaming system, 50-watt idle for the occasional transcode. Actually, you know what? That's not terrible. I switched over a while back. I've been playing around with so many mini PCs, and while I love AMD builds as general purpose computers, like I just did in the housekeeping, I just did another AMD mini PC from Geekom. I still find that because I'm using Plex, not Jellyfin, because I'm using Plex, Intel systems just seem to perform a little bit better, transcode a little bit more efficiently, and I went a little silly. So I have a laptop Core i9, 13th gen Core i9 in one of these Geekoms. I think it's the Geekom IT13. I might have that wrong. But I ended up switching that out. So I was running, I started this whole process. I started running a little like N100, and it was okay. But I really needed something a little beefier. So I just switched over to an AMD 5700U. And that was better, but like I said, transcoding would max out that box if I had like one stream going to my computer and another stream going to the TV. Plex really couldn't handle that very well. And there are times like we'll be out and about and I want my daughter to watch something and I don't want her just like blindly scrolling through video streaming apps. And we've got a bunch of movies that I know she likes. So, hey, we could put something on right here. And I want it to come directly from my Plex. Or also music transcoding, because I've been slowly replacing all of my CDs. I've been re-ripping them as FLAC. So I had a whole bunch of MP3s. I'm not keeping the MP3s because when I play them through Plex, I can have them streamed as MP3s, transcoded in real time from the box. Can't do that on an N100. I mean, you can, but it's terrible. So instead, I moved over to that little AMD machine, and then I was like, you know what? Let me just see. And I popped in the IT13. I am getting to a point here, by the way, Jeremy. This is related to what you're talking about, and it's performed so much better. Problem with 13th gen Core i9. That box idles at like 30 or 40 watts. It's a little mini PC, but doing nothing. You're routinely hearing the fan spin up. And when that box peaks, I'm definitely hitting 100 watts. So it is way less energy efficient to do the workload that I started with like a Celeron grade chip. But the experience is nicer. So I'm willing to take that hit on our, and again, it just blows my mind. That box doing what it does is a little headless server. Yeah, it could hit 100. Sometimes I bet it peaks at like 120 watts. That's what the power supply is rated up to. I have a 1200 watt power supply in my workstation. And I know that's not like for like, but it still does kind of blow my mind that 1/10 the power used at peak can still result in this wonderful multimedia streaming server experience, and how little horsepower you really need to achieve some really cool compute work. So it's just been that long, bumpy road, but it just kind of made me laugh. My NOS is running 50 watts idle. I'm right there with you, man. But you know, if I want good hardware ready at a moment's notice, then them's the breaks. Those are the hits that we got to take. From Lelwani, you all are sleeping on Intel Arc for such use. The A380 is an amazing budget card for media work. I still need to compare. I'm seriously thinking my next. I'm still planning a rebuild. I posted this like on Threads and Blue Sky. I know that the market right now is savagely awful, and I really don't want to support businesses making predatory moves on consumers. But this second generation Threadripper is starting to show its age in more single core and like multi-core, but like 2 to 3 CPU core performance. And I just want to kind of nudge it back up. I don't need the full capacity of this Threadripper very often. And I think I kind of overshot. It's lasted me a lot longer than I thought it would, but it's time to kind of refresh. And I'm really considering an all AMD build. I usually kind of tend to peak at like 70 series cards. So like I've got a 4070 Ti. I haven't felt any burning desire to get a 5070. And prices on the AMD 9070s are pretty reasonable. Like they haven't skyrocketed yet with all these other component shenanigans. So I'm thinking my next build is going to be all AMD. I'm not even horribly concerned about getting like an X3D CPU, you know, like the bestest gaming CPU, because my gaming on this system is pretty minor. I need enough horsepower that I can kind of drive a decently graphics intense game and then stream it to my Steam Deck. That's kind of the experience that I stop at now, because I don't like gaming in this office when I'm also stuck in this office for so much work. So along that, sorry, rambling also again for your comment, Lowani, is I also really just need to pop in an Intel GPU and see like if this is a reasonable performance per watt and it gets me close to the kind of rendering performance, because that's the big thing. I'm fine walking away from NVIDIA and CUDA and all of these little AI plugins that are supported. Like DaVinci Resolve's biggest updates have come to MPU support, not necessarily GPU support for things like intelligent subject identification, like to cut out a subject and blur the background kind of thing. Um, I'm okay with that taking a little longer to process in a project if my completion to video rendering time stays about the same. So I know I might take a small hit in some of the little plugins, but if I go from a 4070 Ti to an AMD GPU, I, if my video renders the same speed or maybe even a little faster, then I'm good. I'm not bothered by some of the other compromises that people always get so worried about. Oh, what about CUDA? And you're like, okay, I totally get that. But I'm starting to replace the things I used CUDA for with other and AMD's support for things like, graphics and transcoding and media have gotten a little better. I'd need to test like when I rip one of my Blu-rays, and I usually do. So you can rip the Blu-ray and then you can compress it, and I still do a pretty large file size for the compression, but I tend to use the GPU so that it doesn't tie up my system for like 2 days to compress a 4K Blu-ray. I'll still need to test stuff like that. Maybe I can't get away from NVIDIA there, but on the whole, I think like I could make a switch to all Team Red and be in pretty good shape. So I need to make that like a priority, a primary action. I want to be well transitioned by the end of the summer on a machine that can maybe, get my work done a little more efficiently and hopefully still be an upgrade over the years old system that I'm running right now. JGJ saying I'm still Team Red for the win, biased. I mean, mobile, I'm going all ARM. I'm all in on ARM. I'm really kind of anxious. I really want to try a new Snapdragon X2. We're gonna have to see. But for my home machine, I think AMD, not Intel and Nvidia. I think AMD is gonna be the go. From Aslan. I also reused my old gaming rig as a home NAS, threw in a P1000 GPU for transcoding. That's pretty hot. That's really cool. Again, it's like I've got a box of hard drives and I'm just swapping mini PCs as like the brain. So it's connected to the box of hard drives, but like the little CPU in my NAS isn't responsible for anything except directing traffic. So that's all it's doing. And then it'll send to my workstation so I can edit video, but then also send to the mini PC for multimedia and transcoding, and just frees up resources on the NAS. At some point, I'm gonna have to switch that over because I am gonna have to add another or do another storage upgrade probably next year. I'm looking at the amount of content that box is now starting to manage. I need to do a better job of secondary backup to the important stuff and then moving or upgrading storage for like all the fun stuff. That's going to get dicey. I'm not looking forward to rebuilding a massive bucket of storage on that. That's going to be kind of stupid. From Lilwani, if you want to try an Intel gaming card, the B570 was $200 with a free game when I checked yesterday for a friend. That's solid. And JGJ, also Costco seems to have some value gaming rigs. I might just take the plunge on one of those. The thing is, like, I really want to do an all AMD build. And the last time I looked at Costco, there were, so it was really exciting. There were tons of decently specced out systems. Like, manufacturers, you go in pre-built, you know you're going to face some compromises. You know you're probably going to have to tinker a little bit, find some solutions for like cooling, maybe get in there and rig things up. But I was really happy to see how many AMD CPUs were kind of listed up at the high level. Because for a long time, retailers would do this thing like, well, obviously Intel is the bestest. And now here's like a budget rig with some AMD garbage in there. And you're like, it was so frustrating. That's one of the main reasons why I started building my own systems. But lately, that CPU conversation has shifted up, and it's a little bit easier. It's a lot easier to find that AMD CPU. My problem was the last time I looked through Costco, it was AMD CPU with NVIDIA GPU, and like I don't really need like a 5060. I'll stick with my 4070, right? So that's where I'm trying to find like the right combination of parts and pieces and I might end up going pre-built. I might not do a rebuild of this system. I might just get a whole new box, just completely whole new box, and rip out my Blu-ray drive and put it in a portable external enclosure, and then that might be the next system. We'll see. The money on this is starting to be kind of stupid, building it myself. We got 2 phones for free saying, what up? Yeah, JGJ, unfortunately, those were NVIDIA GPUs. Exactly. I think it's just been tough. I want to find, and maybe I need to find like a partner build. Maybe I could do like a sponsored video or something. But I want to find a system, AMD, a CPU, and GPU. What do we got? Vazikos, I don't think the 4070 Ti needs changing. Why not just change CPU and motherboard and RAM now and GPU later? And RAM crying emoji, definitely, yeah. So it's not so much. You know what? Let me kind of spitball this with y'all. First of all, I should knock out just one little bit of housekeeping. It's not for something that I've published. But yesterday, and one of the reasons why my voice is totally shot, yesterday I had a lovely conversation with the folks over on the Nomad Tech Project, Sam and Joe. I've been buddies with Sam just forever, it seems. Like, we've probably been friends for over a decade, and I've never had the opportunity to meet him in person. I really just need to plan like a trip, like across the country, and just meet up with people that I'm friends with on the internet. But one of the things that we were talking about is this kind of a lack of consumer education on technology and AI, and you get these people that we're worried you're getting people that don't understand the technology enough to sort of position like, this is something I don't want, this is something I do want, and this is where I want to spend my money. And I think the tech industry has done a miserable job of educating consumers. So when I'm looking at this system rebuild, and why I'm saying I really want to do an all AMD workstation, there is a political motivation to that. I have a part that's pretty good. 4070 Ti, excellent graphics card. I'm really not bothered. But I'm very disappointed in how NVIDIA is doing business right now. I'm very critical that NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, goes out on stage for the Consumer Electronics Show and delivers a presentation that basically says, we're post-consumer, F those individuals, we're about data centers, AI, and massive corporations now. I'm not being very charitable, but if you go and watch that keynote, there is no acknowledgement that NVIDIA as a corporation was built on this quaint notion of, we make a product and we sell it to an individual and they get this really awesome product for their computer and we make a profit on that. Now it's, we're going to sell the pickaxes for the gold rush. Because NVIDIA doesn't really have any huge stake in AI, but they're the hardware that every company wants to run AI systems on, right? So now they're pulling back from the GPU market, they're artificially inflating prices, they're hurting consumers. And that's Jensen Huang's big presentation at CES. The problem with AI is you need more AI. You need an AI to check your AI, and you need an AI to help your other AI suck up more user data so you can train better models, and then have an AI that simulates reality so you can train a physical AI to go into a robot. And that robot's going to take over human jobs in warehouses and factories and maybe be a first responder someday. And will synthesize all of the information on the entire planet using NVIDIA hardware to train the models on robots that are still not economically viable, on data centers that are not economically viable, on AI platforms that haven't generated a profit, but are sucking up all the RAM, sucking up all the storage, and now sucking up all the GPUs. Lisa Wu's keynote from AMD, similarly, had a lot to do with AI. But the reality of where we're at right now is AMD is much more closely tied to the consumer market than NVIDIA is trying to be. AMD APUs are the backbone of every console gaming experience minus Nintendo. And I think a lot of us would say those gaming experiences, and from a hardware perspective, are much better on AMD APUs than the chip that goes in the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I don't think that's controversial. You can definitely push more pixels out of the little portable AMD APUs, and Xbox gaming, PlayStation gaming, pretty solid. And just like I'm looking at Steam Machine is going to be an AMD APU. So I'm looking at like the reality of the pitches. Nvidia, through their actions, are actively trying to walk away from the consumer market and make it prohibitively expensive for consumers to still buy and own their own hardware. And their big solution is you'll just rent cloud gaming. Amazon and Nvidia, aren't they so buddy buddy? Don't worry about owning a really nice PC. You can just log into your Amazon cloud PC and you'll pay us a stupid monthly rate for like basic compute performance, and then you'll just never have to worry about owning a PC ever again. Chucklehead, chucklehead. I really want to swear viciously more. So when I want to make a video about this, and I know I could say like, hey, yeah, I grabbed a new AMD CPU and I popped in my old NVIDIA GPU. I'm trying. I'm not always succeeding, but I'm trying to put my money where my mouth is. I say this matters to me, and I say it should matter to you, and I say you should help consumers make more effective purchases for their computing needs. We've got to put our money where our mouth is. We actually have to vote with our wallets while we still can. And for me, that means AMD. And what's lovely is I could still put that video forward and show generationally this is still an upgrade. This is a big upgrade for my CPU. This is probably going to improve these areas of my workflow, while I also might have to compromise on these areas. And that to me is an informed conversation. It's not just, I'm all team red, pew, pew, pew. It's, I really feel these moves are some of the last options we have left in a market that is radically racing away from the consumer experience. And it breaks my heart that that's what one of the biggest keynotes at the world's largest tech conference had to say. NVIDIA doesn't care about consumers. They're post-consumer. As long as they're moving. There was another story today. They just put like another $2 or $3 billion in a company making big AI plays so they can build more data centers. And like, as long as massive corporations can just keep investing in each other, well, you don't have to worry if your consumer sales are in the toilet, because consumers don't matter anymore. And that's what NVIDIA thinks of us. So why would I want to continue supporting or doing business with that company? I have to make that the personal choice for me to be able to sleep at night. From two phones. But you can just cloud game using GeForce Now. And Bionic Scoop saying, "One, what's up, Scoop?" Scoop shared another just run of amazing photos ringside. And even if you're not into professional wrestling, man, what this dude captures, his action photography is absolutely redonkulous. And Jeremy Moe, I'm not trying to sane wash the AMD presentation. I'm not saying that it was so much better than NVIDIA's. But what I'm saying is, while AMD, in respect of their shareholders, every company has to go out and say AI, AI, AI. The reality of the market, what AMD is choosing to release as product, the commitments they've made to manufacturing, the pricing on those components, and the relationships that they actively have with a huge score of manufacturing, for me, that is the business I want to support with my dollars. You're totally correct. The keynote was a bunch of AI nonsense, and I guess I missed the part really preaching about deregulating government on that. I was on the show floor. I was trying to like listen in on both streaming, and I missed big chunks of both presentations. But in corporate action, AMD has more parts, products, and solutions going actively to consumers that you can go and buy today to play your games or get your work done or, watch your content than NVIDIA does. away from those kinds of markets and solutions and product in a way that purposely inflates the prices on those. Now, as component market shifts and changes, we might see AMD make similar positions too. But again, I can go buy a little mini PC with a great AMD APU in it, turn it into a Steam OS box, and have a great living room console style experience with 1080p gaming. Not really any option for me to do that with an NVIDIA, right? I can't. So I might take this 4070 and see if I can cram it into the little mini PC. This is like the old Intel Extreme Nook. It's like a Core i9, a 9th generation Core i9. I might see if the 4070 can work in there, and then I'll be able to take our living room gaming from 1080p to 1440 in pure raster, and that'll be great. But for this workstation build, we'll gotta see if I can go all Team Red. So I just got another note there that I think we had a blip. I think the stream is still intact, but let me know if anything's going on. I see nothing up with my network, so I think this might be yet another restream issue. Just say, darn it, restream down in the comments. But hopefully we don't get completely shut down. Actually, I'm not terribly surprised if there are issues, considering the weather across the planet. It's getting pretty gross out there. Let's see, from Lilwani, I saw some rumors that NVIDIA might be making a play at the ARM laptop market. I am curious as to if your thoughts on this would extend to that as well. We've been talking about NVIDIA, I mean, since the Shield, in returning to some kind of consumer-facing market. At this point, I'm exhausted by it. At this point, I'm just tired. If NVIDIA wants to make the play, make the play. But so far, their main critical focus and all of their engineering and capacity has been going towards server side. So I don't see it likely that they're going to look at trying to waddle in to the CPU market again and the ARM market again. And their one big consumer win is the Nintendo Switch. And the Nintendo Switch has arrived with a chip that's already less powerful than a last generation Qualcomm powered phone. So whatever NVIDIA has up their sleeves, if they're sleeping on it, why? They could make a dent in this market tomorrow. And they also have the marketing and the consumer support and the enthusiast support to make a big push. And they don't seem terribly motivated to do that. So it's one of those, like, I'm tired of talking about the potential of speculating about the maybe that they might. And when they do it, we'll take a look at it. But as of right now, I just have very little confidence that that's going to be a major push for them. I am positive they've been running tons of R&D. Like, ever since the Steam Deck came out, we got lots of trickle news leaks, rumors about what NVIDIA was doing. Maybe a Switch Pro is on the way, stuff like that. I am 100% that NVIDIA has been putting some money towards the research and the R&D for what an NVIDIA-based ARM product would look like. But at the same time, I have a real product that I can play with from MediaTek, a real product that I can play with from Qualcomm, and a real product that I could even play with on a Pixel, even though a Pixel's GPU is hot garbage. Like, those are real things. There's no, like, speculating, will they maybe consider in the future doing a thing? And I'm tired of giving NVIDIA brain space for something that they seem to actively be working against. So, I don't know. Brian Glaze, shareholders think like this: I hear AI, I give money. Would you like more money? I'll give you billions more monies. And again, I just feel like it's a game of chicken. It's a game of chicken to an investor rug pull. That I worry increasingly that that AI and this NVIDIA play is going to burst in a way where investors will probably get some kind of forewarning. The people at the top of the market are probably going to get clued in, yank their money out, and everyone else is going to get burned. And that seems to be what investing is in the year 2026, is race to hype a new fad, put as much money into that fad as you can, get schmucks to invest in that fad and then yank the rug out from under them. And AI doesn't seem to be terribly different. It's just now AI is going to have a massive impact on real estate, utilities, on energy, and that kind of bubble bursting is going to be massively catastrophic. But a few rich people will get theirs, so F everyone else, right? That's what America, that's what investing, that's what the stock market's all about. It's not about growing a real thing and making a better business. It's about F you, I got mine. So, it's great. The the nice neighbor says, I manage an AI platform for a Fortune 500. Regulations prevented its inception for a long time. Secondly, is inability to quantify the value or money saved since these platforms are far from free. Uh, I feel like that is a very common story that's percolating. It's a very common percolating story at just sort of the periphery of a lot of tech reporting is the number of companies that have rushed into some kind of AI play and then they're not able to quantify productivity, cost savings. I feel like that's been a pretty common story. At the same time, the companies that have really rushed to try and reduce their employee numbers, we'll do these layoffs, we'll fill in the gaps with AI, this is going to be great. It hasn't gone very well for them. So I hope, what the thing that's so frustrating is when we look at what you can do with information and cataloging and search and research in contained platforms, if you run some of these models on air-gapped systems and you can really see what they're capable of, even on modest hardware, there's really cool stuff. The idea that we're going to use LLMs in all of these areas, like an LLM in a spreadsheet, makes zero sense. That is the stupidest thing you could want to try to use because you're just going to fight the language, tokenization of language to get to actual practical math. But there are other ways that we can do machine learning for organization and for sorting and for making better tools for people to do the math in the spreadsheet. I'm grossly oversimplifying here because I'm not a crazy genius math expert guy. But we've focused on the wrong tools for the wrong jobs. It's really frustrating because I feel like Sam Altman deserves all of the ire and all of the scrutiny for racing into a model, or I guess I should say racing into a market with AI models before they were really ready to do the work that he was claiming they can do. To me, that starts to look like gross negligence and lying to potential business partners and shareholders. To me, that looks like Elon Musk promising full self-driving when they just killed it on Teslas, and you can sign up for a $100 a month subscription for the same kind of basic cruise control that all cars now come with for free. To me, when do you say, hey, here's some whiz kid genius wannabe billionaire, hype master, and say, no, your actions have done irreparable harm to these, financial institutions, to these corporations, and to these consumers. So maybe you don't get to be a billionaire on the back of grifting people. We need to be able to say that the emperor has no clothes. Oh, no, that is a beautiful outfit, emperor. Yes. Oh, I see it too. It's the finest of thread. Oh, only the most cultured people can see it. If you think it's invisible and you think he's naked, well, you must be a simpleton. We tell these stories to kids, these parables and these fables, and you're like, yeah. When do we pin that on Sam Altman? When do we pin that on Elon Musk? When do we pin that on Microsoft and Amazon? At some point, when it's safe to do it, it's too late. when the media is like, oh, there's been massive economic turmoil over this, now we're really skeptical about AI. Too late. Great. Good job. You suck. From Jeremy Moe, tech has run out of golden geese and now it's all scams. And so that's the big problem when I'm sitting here whinging on about competition. The only thing that makes your products better is better competition, and you've got a bunch of influencers that tell you not to try anything competitive because you should only use what's most popular. Well, now we're stuck. And I wish it weren't like that, and a box just fell off my desk, and that's dumb. So, oh no, those are headphones. Yeah, I need to pick those up. Every time I tap my desk, there are things that like shift. It means I need to clean my desk. It's really a bad look. If I were to turn this camera around, I think you would all like throw up in your mouths over what incredible mess I have in front of me here, with an incredible number of gadgets that I really do need to do a better job of cleaning up. Let me take another drink of coffee and try and clear my sinuses here. 1 second. From Michael C2, think of all the amazing AI recorder pins we now have. Well, Michael, that's like one of the stories I did want to talk about. Because, you know, we can tell that Apple is really firing on all cylinders and being the market leader and the incredible company, the reputation they deserve for driving the consumer experience, when we know that one of their big plays, they're going to be working on, if I can screen share, there we go, a little AI pin with cameras. Isn't this what you all wanted from Apple? Like, isn't this the big hot new thing that everyone's gonna want to wear? An advertisement for Apple that records video and audio of everything around you. Isn't that so stoked? Aren't you? I'm so excited to be in a passive recording environment all the time, where you walk into all these people that are so concerned about what happens when you walk into a bathroom, and now everyone's going to be walking around with camera pins and camera glasses. And I really feel like we need to push back against glass holes a little bit more again. Like, there was a reason why Google Glass kind of got the rep that it did, and that hasn't gotten any better with like Ray-Bans, right? We're still seeing people abusing cameras in situations that they shouldn't. And everyone can say, oh, it's inevitable. And like everyone's got a camera on their phone. But when I hold up the camera on my phone, it's very obvious what I'm trying to do. When I'm walking around with this little AirTag, clippy button thing with two cameras, and it's got this cute little microphone. So it looks almost like a face, and the Apple logo is its cute little nose. It makes me want to hurl. So yeah, I gotta say, like, it's funny to me because I feel like Apple's strategy has been very AI conservative because it doesn't make money. If AI was really making tons of money, not just generating shareholder investment value, right? If AI were really moving phones, we're really moving laptops, we're really moving PCs, if we're really moving accessories, Apple would be tip of the spear on this. The fact that Apple has been sitting this out for so long means to me Apple's business model, they can't find a way to generate the revenue and profits needed to overcome the investments in generating a better AI system, a better AI platform, a better AI model. But this is like the laziest, dumbest, stupidest way to kind of cash in. When we talk about Apple sheep, this is like shearing sheep, right? The people who are going to jump on this and say it's a cool idea are exactly the people who have complained about Meta Ray-Bans and Google Glass. Oh, you can't have Google Glass because those Glass users might be perverts. Like, that was actually the commentary. I have got screen grabs of editorials in legitimate technology magazine publications saying, oh, but look out for all of those Glass users. They might be gross, scummy people. You never know what they're recording on their headsets. All the while talking about how like Apple's going to do Google Glass right. Apple's going to give us real glasses that do real things, and they're going to be way awesome. And that's never happened. they've still continued that. If anything has a camera on your face, oh no, and Apple cares about your privacy, and what stays on an Apple is what you do on an Apple, and that's what's really. And now they're gonna bootlick like crazy. Hey guys, I just tried the new Apple Pen. Isn't it so neat? Now we've got like Apple AI. Isn't this like so much better than anything else that's ever happened in AI ever before? Because it's Apple, and like, it's the exact same issue, exact same problem, exact same privacy issues, and all of those bootlickers are going to be over head over heels that Apple finally has an AI product when it's really just feeding data to Gemini. They would have peed themselves over the angst of Google's privacy violating hardware. But they're fine with Google search and Google AI being the backbone of their iOS, iPadOS, and macOS experience. That all of their behavioral data still go into Google. Like, that's still fine. So you can tell that Apple is intellectually bankrupt when they've got one of the best platforms for computer processors on the market today. The M series chips are absolutely incredible. They've done, as far as I can track, they've done about 20 years of research on virtual reality, mixed reality, and augmented reality. And the only thing they have to show for it is a ridiculously overpriced beta piece of hardware. They've got all of these parts and pieces that could revolutionize consumer computing. And they're fighting good ideas tooth and nail. They're fighting interoperability. They're fighting hardware consistency. They're fighting, their own admissions like, oh, well, we've got to do better about e-waste. So instead of putting a charger in the box, we'll sell you a separate charger in a separate box that has separate shipping, which is way worse for the environment than if we just put the charger in the box. Like, it's all a lie. Everything they do is really just what's going to benefit our bottom line, what's going to cause more battery anxiety so that they buy more accessories, what's going to get them to buy more cables. Well, you don't want to buy one of those scummy USB cables. You need an Apple USB-C cable. Like, everything they do is so self-serving. And this is what they come up with for AI. This is their play. I mean, I'm saying it is. Like, this is still just rumor leakville, but like, you have to be so intellectually bankrupt to not see all of the other cool things you could do in this market with the catalog of parts you already have. And then start leaking information like this. Start saying like, well, what we need to be in the AI space. How about a memo recorder that clips to the back of your phone? I've gotten pitches for 5 of those. Guess what I'm not making videos about? Stupid memo recorders that are the size of a credit card that clip to the back of your phone. You know why? Because your phone already has microphones on it. Why are you buying more e-waste? It's another battery-powered, Bluetooth radioed storage device. And the big hook is, now it's got MagSafe magnets. So you can stick it to the back of your phone that already has microphones on it. Why are we... Your phone already has better cameras and microphones and speakers. I know what I'll do. I'll clip a pin to my shirt so everybody knows that I'm a glass hole and that everything I say around them is basically just getting sucked up by Apple's front end for Google's AI. And I hate that they're probably going to make money on that. So, Michael, that's my take on the Apple AI Pen rumor or leak or whatever this is. The tip, Apple's next wearables tipped to be an AI pen. I hope they make it. I hope they make it so I can talk trash about it. Then it becomes wildly successful. Everyone just calls me a hater. And then in 5 years, everyone will be like, oh, can you imagine like why everyone went in on those AI pins? How come no one ever said anything negative about them? And we'll conveniently forget that there was any kind of pushback to this total surveillance state that we're trying to build. It's great. It's great. From Jeremy Moat, from Jeremy Moat, while most features I actually want wearables to have require cameras, like live translation of signs coupled with live translation of speech, I hate the idea of everyone discreetly filming. Um, that's to me like the one benefit I can't find a good solution around. I do not want cameras on my face. I don't want anyone to see the tech that I wear and perceive it as being exploitive of situations or me being a creeper. I'm more concerned about the social etiquette that we have not built around face displays. But to your point, I can't find a solution around like looking at a sign and getting a translation on it. And unfortunately, I still think that the best way to balance that is to advertise that you're a tourist. Now, what I love about waveguide optics in glasses is I can walk around, I can get turn by turn walking directions, I can get little factoids, points of interest, like everything's up at eye level, my head's up, I'm not staring at my phone to navigate. It's beautiful. But that's the one thing I can't get around. If I'm covering a show in Taipei, and thankfully, actually, that's a bad example because there's so much in English around Taiwan. But still, like the point still resonates with me. Like I'd love that ability to look at a sign and get a translation in my waveguide, but I'm not willing to sacrifice the social etiquette of walking around with cameras on my face to achieve that feature. But the other things like the always recording microphones, also problematic, but it's problematic in a way that's like just a little bit more discreet. I really feel like we've tried to push into inevitability too fast. And I still feel like there's a benefit. Like I put glasses on my face and there should be like a little blinking light when the microphones are active. It should call attention to me being that guy who's got something happening with recording in my space. And then people around me can choose, like, do I want to interact with that guy? He's kind of a douche, right? We need to educate and expose and have clear signals, clear intentionality, tech with intention, to say something is happening here. And now you, as an individual, can choose whether or not you want to continue this interaction. And that's what we're lacking. That's what like Meta has raced so hard to try to get around, because Meta has a vested interest in constantly sucking up data all around them to, I guess that's how they make profits. Whatever Meta's business model looks like today. So that to me is like the thing I can't quite solve yet. I feel like we need another 2 generations of social etiquette, tech evolution, and understanding just, you know, where, why, how you use this kind of stuff, and then maybe a camera on your face will make sense. But it didn't make sense for Google Glass. It hasn't made sense since. It kind of makes sense if you want to be the D-bag walking around with like a full-on VR headset. Everyone knows that like for you to be able to navigate space around you, you've got big old camera sensors like pointing out. That guy's probably like looking at stuff through cameras, might be recording stuff with cameras. I know to give that guy space, I don't have to mess with that guy. But when you've got little like Ray-Bans on, that intention isn't being broadcast. Oh, Azariah got a laugh out of me saying we're shearing sheep. From Brian Glaze, I don't understand this desire to not try something new, to not be comfortable and figure something out is part of the enjoyment. And well, it is part of the enjoyment for folks who like podcasts like this. And let's be frank, let's keep it 100. The people in my audiences are a very small slice of the overall tech enthusiast pie. Like, I don't know. I mean, people in this chat, you might consider yourselves average consumers, but I think you're grossly overestimating the vast majority of people who comment on tech videos and how they're a tiny slice of the overall consumer pie. And you're a tiny niche of a tiny sliver of the overall consumer pie. You all are so much smarter than the average bear, just based on the comments and conversations that we get into here, literally just because of curiosity. I can't tell you, overwhelmingly, the comments I get show a lack of curiosity. If it's something new, if it's something a little different, if it's something niche, Like, look at all the explosion we've had on commentary about like keyboard phones, right? Well, the Clicks communicator is coming from a group of people that are very good at tapping into the idea and marketing and language of tech enthusiasts on YouTube. But it's not like keyboard phones ever completely went away. If it was BlackBerry flirting with Android to Unihertz, Titans, like they've been around and they've been good experiences for people who want a tactile communication experience. Maybe not always in terms of software. Android gets a little clumsy. You want something a bit more streamlined, totally get that. But now that the idea is coming from someone who knows how to make it seem a little sexier and a little more popular, and has had some good experiences, like some good successes with like accessory cases with keyboards. Now it's a viable idea, and now Unihertz looks like they want to compete. And now who could have thought that now feature phones and communicator phones and streamline phones and dumb phones, all this, but none of that ever went away. It was just, it wasn't presented to the techies in a way that made them feel like they were on the cusp of something trendy and popular. It's marketing. It's better marketing. So that's what's funny to me is like you can only sell something like that to YouTube commenters when there's already a ton of groundswell support for it and it's already kind of a popular idea in the market. If you ask them to consider really being on the bleeding edge, well, no, that's not ready. It's not perfect. It's not 100%. It's not done. If it were a good idea, Apple would do it. Like, there's every reason not to try something new until there's a tipping point where it's like cool, you know? And that's where I just don't have any patience. Like, I want to be on the actual bleeding edge, not on just what's possible because of popularity edge. So that's why I get so pissy and persnickety. From Ron GKP, my question is, how do you even know what you're capturing if you are using one of those? Doesn't seem to be a way to aim it. It's really, and this is another reason why I don't like cameras on glasses. It's just a ridiculously wide field of view. I think the last one that I played with most recently was what was it? The TCL Ray Neo. It was the Ray Neo X2. It's got a camera on it. And like you can record little video clips and then those video clips get sent to your phone. And I'm looking at these video clips like, why would I ever want this garbage video? It's an ultra wide, tiny camera sensor field of view. So the video quality is garbage, the stills quality is garbage. You try to take a photo of something and your subject is this almost imperceptibly small thing in the middle of this hyper wide field of view. And you're like, I pick up my phone and I use it with purpose. I have intention and I want to use the cameras. Man, I am capturing a moment. I am taking a pretty portrait. I am recording a softball practice. Like, it means something to me that I'm handling this phone. And if I were to do any of those things with these glasses cameras, none of that footage would be useful, would be fun to look back on, would help preserve or capture a memory. I just have all of these crazy ultra wide photos and like, oh, this is garbage. It's just taking up space. It's content for your life. It's just garbage cotton candy. I know I did it in the moment. Isn't that cool? It's my POV. And then you're like, yeah, but I'm never going to look at this ever again. It's so bad. And I just can't understand why the POV shot seems to matter to people. But then when you really look at the footage from most of these glasses, like, folks aren't really sharing. Like, it's not making up any significant chunk of the commentary or the experience or what people say they care about. It's still, I took a photo of my lunch, but I used my iPhone to do it, right? Like, I don't know. Ron, I mean, I can't understand the psychology behind it, but I gotta say the practical experience that I've had with a lot of these has been pretty terrible and not something that I've ever felt was worth sharing or commenting on more than just, you're never gonna look at these photos ever again. They're that bad. Brian Glaze. By the way, my last comment about trying new things was not about Apple AI. Oh, that's great. Razikos, I'm blushing, Juan. Stop it. No, you guys are the best. I'm gonna keep praising. Like literally, I get into the most fulfilling conversations post this podcast, and it's what fuels me during the week just to remind me like my flavor of curiosity is not wholly unique. And plenty of people disagree with me, but if they're curious, we can have fun dicing out, hashing out what we care about, and we just might disagree. If I just left it up to YouTube comments, man, it would just be like, why does everything gotta suck? How come you even talk about things that suck? Why don't you just buy good things? And you're like, I just wanna reach to the computer and shake that person and just shake them into some kind of sense. For Mountain Dew Lou, glass hole. That's an appropriate term for cameras on your face. I wish I could coin it. The phrase really came into its own flavor of popularity. Who was it? Oh, it was that really scummy, like tech bro dude. He took a photo of himself wearing Google Glass in the shower, and it was super gross. And that's like people had already sort of started joking, like, "Oh, don't be a glass hole." But when those nerds became the ambassador for tech on your face, those were the worst ambassadors Google could have picked. Someone please remind me what that guy's name is. I cannot remember what his name is. It's gonna drive me crazy. But that's when the phrase glass hole really came into its own. And I think it deserves to stick around today. It's also emblematic of like the impoopification of the market. It is a clear representation of a company who does not respect the people around their customers, right? Apple does not respect people around their customers. They proved that with AirTags. They've proved that with file sharing, right? If you have an Android or an older iPhone, you don't deserve security and privacy from AirTag abuse. That was Apple's business model. Now we fixed that, but we fixed it because Google and the Bluetooth Alliance worked together to solve the problems Apple didn't care about because Apple does not respect people around their consumers. Google Glass did not respect people around Google Glass. This Apple AI pin does not respect people around this AI pin. Glass hole. Absolutely. Um, from Hassam, maybe the solution would be glasses with cameras, sort of like flip cameras that are basically blocked when not used. It's not a bad idea. The only reason why I don't think I would want that is literally the extra ounces of weight to make hinges. But you're not wrong. We need some intention that something's happening, right? For me, I think the best solution is still like a blinking light. Everyone knows you pick up a camera and you see a blinking light, and that means the camera is doing something. What I would actually also kind of like to see is a dead man switch. So I'm looking at you and I say, hey, I'd love to get a recording or translation of this. And it only works while I'm holding my finger up to my temple. And you see a little flashing light. And if I take my finger off my temple, it deactivates. There is a physical gesture like holding up a phone, holding up a camera, and then there is a clear uh, notification. There's a clear identifier that the glasses are operating and doing something. To me, I feel like we need like it can't be in doubt. There can't be anything cute or subversive or precious about I'm recording you in secret, which is why I also hate all these stupid little memo recorder things. Like it's another just set of microphones on a wireless system that I'm sure is super secure, but it hides its intention from people around you. It does not respect the people around you. So I think that rather than having additional parts or pieces or covers, if we could agree as a society that if you're using cameras and they aren't doing something, you're a glass hole. You deserve to be confronted, asked to leave the bar, asked to leave the club, asked to leave the restaurant. Take them off your face, put them in your shirt pocket, something, or you can leave. And I think we need to become a bit more guarded. I actually feel like the movie industry should probably start examining the situation a little bit more and putting up signs. No Ray-Ban Metas in our movie theaters, please. Just, I mean, whether or not there's an actual practical threat there, just like, no, we can't trust that you're not recording parts of our movie, recording the audio, or like trying to do something nefarious, or also taking video of the customers watching our movie. We can't trust that you're not engaged in something sneaky and duplicitous. So either you can remove the glasses from our establishment or you can leave. You've got a choice. But this is how we choose to do business and respect the privacy of our customers and respect the IP of the people who made this content, this movie. And I think if you started with those kinds of experiences saying this is not okay, then the manufacturers would have to do something to make it clear when these were in or not in operation. That's just my idea on it. So Hassam, I mean, like, you've got, I think you have the right idea. It's just like, even on waveguides, unless you go monocular with almost nothing on them, they can still be kind of heavy. Like the Evan Realities, there's some of the more comfortable waveguides that I've worn, but they don't have cameras on them. So adding the weight of a tiny little camera and then adding the additional weight of something to cover the camera, to me just doesn't sound like something I'd want on my face. For as much as I've loved like the Halliday glasses are super stupid AI and they do a whole bunch of audio and, you know, conversation tracking and stuff like that. I don't like all that, but they're so light on my face. My Vuzix are super light on my face. The simpler we make this, I actually think the better the experience is. Just getting someone used to like content at eye level, notifications, alerts, maybe reply to a notification over speech to text, stuff like that, I think would actually interest a lot of people, but we've convinced them, well, you need all the magic AI, and that's dumb. That's really stupid. Scoble, Colin Murphy, thank you so much. Robert Scoble. That image is burned in my brain of his wet, soapy, pasty, naked body, into the camera with his Google Glass on in the shower. And oh, I might upchuck all of this coffee that I've been drinking right now. Talk about a guy who kind of fell into conversational irrelevance. Like there was a hot minute there. I knew a guy. I was friends with a mutual friend of Robert Scoble's, and just like so many people would just ride that dude's coattails. Just like it so matters, and he's such a cool guy. He's so smart, and you're like, he's such a creep. Here's like evidence of him kind of being a creep. What are you hoping to gain by taking that kind of a photo? Like, I'm not in great shape. Guess what I'm really not trying to show y'all right now is me in the shower with my Vuzix smart glasses. Look, guys, they're totally water resistant. Oh my God, it's so dumb. I love it. I hate it, but I love it. So, we still haven't even covered housekeeping yet. I just want to cover 3 news articles real quick. This has just been a raging dumpster fire of social media news. And normally I wouldn't even bother trying to do a whole bunch of like news topics, but I'm trying to hit these really quick. They're just things I want to keep an eye on. News that is unfolding, news that is evolving, and as these stories develop, I just want us to be aware. And some good articles on them. So I'll have these linked. Everything that we've been talking about, like my appearance on the Nomad Tech Project, my recent articles. I did a couple Patreon posts. I did a buy the benchmarks for the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 and how it compares against the 8 Elite Gen 5 in the new OnePlus phones. So that's live on the Patreon. And then I also wrote up an article on Even Realities, the G2, after my experiences at CES. So those are on patreon.com/somegadgetguy. But everything we're going to be talking about, we've been talking about. If there's a link, it's going to be on this week's show notes on somegadgetguy.com. So I want to screen share here, and we're just going to move through these really quick. From the Financial Times, written up by Barbara Mones, EU opens formal probe into Musk's XAI over Grok deepfakes. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks, but image generation on Grok has become exceedingly problematic. And I'm really tired of how slow the investigation process is. So someone on Grok could go to a post, say a woman posted a photo of themselves in an evening gown, and then posted it to Twitter. Someone on Twitter could then go, hey Grok, remove her clothes, right? Well, that's already really bad. That's already a big problem. But Grok is a stupid AI, and it really didn't have good awareness of the subject involved in the image. So there are these token efforts to kind of rein in, like police, the kind of content that people were making, but it was exceedingly easy to get around any of these like minor speed bumps. And unfortunately for both Twitter and Twitter users, it was very easy to employ those same systems against content featuring children. So even if it's artificial, it's still a proliferation of abusive imagery featuring children. And those children are real live children. It's just an artificial image of that child, right? But it's still, the focus is the child in that image. If you were to Photoshop terrible abusive images of children and share them on a website, your website would be blocked and banned, and you would be investigated for criminal activity. If you had an app that did something like that, your app would immediately get savaged by Google Play and by the Apple App Store. And for some reason, we're all just sitting here going, oh, but it's Twitter. You know what? We need to investigate. You're like, no. What we need to start doing is blocking the app and shutting down its servers until they can demonstrate that they can safeguard their users. It needs to start being proactive, not reactive. I am so disgusted and enraged, and knowing that the next phase of AI, like what's really going to make money for content generation, is basically just going to be adult media. All of these people, the grand things and the images and the the visions that we'll be able to create, and everyone can be artistic, and isn't this going to be so awesome? And really what it's going to come down to is like, can I make good adult materials out of it? Cool. And then that's going to be a way that these companies make a ton of money on generative content AI. Again, it's like, it's so clear to see what the roadmap is. Like Joseph Gordon-Levitt out there campaigning against Facebook's AI systems, because basically they're just going to allow lonely and desperate people to make their own adult content that they want to see. And they're going to serve that with terrible protections for minors. And anyone who just kind of makes a Facebook account is going to be able to get access to these kinds of systems. And a lot of those people are probably going to be young and impressionable. Like, we can already see the damage it's going to do, but we're sitting back here going, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be, maybe we need to investigate. Like, just no, shut it down first. Just start pulling the plug on it. You want this company to act and improve and deliver a safer a better platform for its users and to not spread weaponized, misinformation, there is no free speech protection for an AI content generating bot. Grok is not a person. Grok does not have a First Amendment. Grok's content can't be copy protected. There is no IP protection for what it makes. Because an AI bot can't engage in the copyright process. It's no value. There is no value. It just sucks resources and energy and compute power, and it hurts people along the way. What investigating do we need to do? It does not deserve protecting, and it hurts people. And I'm curious to see, someone just, I'm gonna have to find the article. I'll link it if I can find it. But there was like another examination, like in part of the court process of examining Grok's business practices, it was deemed like, no, actually people who have had their content like used in this fashion to create adult images against their permission, there's nothing in the terms of service for Twitter that prevents them from suing Twitter. Why isn't there a class action lawsuit today? Do it now. Just go. Shut it down. Make that cash. Pull that money out of Elon Musk. He'll do another like advertising round with SpaceX on Twitter. So he'll use SpaceX money and Tesla money to continue funding whatever ridiculousness is happening on Twitter. It's just so gross and so disgusting. And I'm exhausted by how slow this process needs to be. And at the end of this, what are they going to do? Oh, we found that Grok was in violation. We can serve higher fines. The new rules in the EU and the regulations in the EU, we could be serving these incredible fines against these platforms. But you know what? To send a message, we're going to fine them $5 million. That'll teach them not to do this anymore. I guess. Elon Musk shakes out the change from his couch and pays off that EU fine. No, make it hurt. Make them not want to do something this stupid ever again. WX Romer. Instead of Congress investigating, they went on vacation again to avoid voting on Senate changes to the budget bill regarding DHS funding. Like Ted Cruz was already on a flight to skip out on another Texas winter storm. I don't understand how that guy keeps getting reelected, but the whole rest of the Senate and Congress is pretty gross also, so it seems par for the course. Moving right along. So anyway, there's a really good write-up on everything that's going into this investigation. The EU has launched a formal investigation into Elon Musk's XAI following a public outcry over how its Grok chatbot spread sexualized images of women and children. You're like, okay, cool. You know what? That's already super illegal, and a chatbot has no rights. So do something about it. Don't keep watching it. I hate that so much. Anyway, moving right along. Written up by Lauren Good over at Wired.com, but republished by Ars Technica. Meta wants to block data about social media use, mental health in child safety trial. You see like a theme here? Like Twitter making really terrible images of underage individuals, and now Meta is in a trial about child safety, and their big play is to say, well, if there's evidence of mental health abuse, you shouldn't be able to tell that evidence in a courtroom proceeding. Listen to this. As Meta heads to trial in the state of New Mexico for allegedly failing to protect minors from, I just have to use these words, sexual exploitation, the company is making an aggressive push to have certain information excluded from the court proceedings. Where are all the people who are like, oh, but won't you please think of the children? Like, I have massive problems with the video game industry for not adding monetization into game ratings. Like how a game monetizes should influence the age of the audience. That I'm unflappable on that point. Fight me, bro. If you have slot machine mechanics in your game and it's got cute little puppies and Marvel characters in it, too bad. That should be adults only. I don't care. If you're going to use gambling mechanics on kids, you're an awful, awful company. You're a horrible corporation. You deserve hate and pitchforks and torches. But even the games industry's issues don't get us these kinds of problems. And for some reason, we can't associate like the perceived harms with the platform and come up with a reasonable course of action. Games have ratings. Consumers can at least police the content of a game, the writing, the gore, if there are adult situations in that game. A parent can look at a label and say, well, it's rated T for teen. There might be some spicy stuff in there, but I think my kid can handle it. Facebook is sitting here going, oh no, you can't tell people about all the ways that Facebook harms kids. We've done the studies ourselves to weaponize misery on Facebook because it makes people angry and it makes them afraid and it makes conflict more inevitable, so people spend more time on Facebook. But you can't tell people that we've done that. Oh, that would be bad for our business. We're sitting here protecting them. We're actually entertaining this objection, this idea that maybe we shouldn't put this into a trial. How do you do law? How do you perform this like dance? This like performative action of, oh, Facebook, and we're really worried about the kids. Yeah, but if you tell people that like Facebook is bad for kids, it's going to be bad for Facebook. Oh, okay, well, let's hear this objection. Like, that's the whole point of the trial, is to say that's not all right. But no, we're going to do this dance. These motions are part of a landmark case brought by New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres in late 2023. Late 2023. So we've been talking about this court case, 2024, 2025. We're now in 2026, and Facebook is still stalling on these motions to remove potential evidence that might make them look bad. All the while, Facebook's still operating. And again, my argument is, there's enough evidence here. You shut Facebook down. You shut it down until they can show that they are able to safeguard the interests of their users and customers. Why are we letting them operate still while we're in the middle of this potential court case trial investigation over how they might be doing business? Algorithms don't have rights. And if they don't want this kind of attention because of the practices of their algorithms, then they need to employ another solution. They need to do something different. And is anyone so passionately supportive of the Facebook model and Mark Zuckerberg that they're really going to be that upset if massive components of Meta's business are just pulled offline until they can shore up the safety and security of their users? Oh no, I won't get my AI slop Jesus shaking hands with Republicans with an AR-15. Oh no, I bet no one will give this one upvote and like, and no one will share it. And if you want to go to heaven, share, and if you want to go to hell, ignore. Like, what are we protecting here? I don't get it. Brian Glaze, a $5 million fine, that's a lot of monies. That'll teach those guys high fives all around. We did a regulation. WX Romer, investors are heading towards haven assets like gold and silver because they are scared of another looming federal shutdown. The stock market is so predictable. Gold has gone from less than $3,000 to over $5,000 an ounce in less than 1 year. Because let me tell you, we're not really buying up United States debt anymore, right? And Treasury and all that other stuff. And I am not qualified to give investment advice, but man, it looks pretty bad out there to have your money in some of these businesses. I'm just saying, if I had the capital and if I had the budget, I would absolutely be shorting some of these companies with like a 5-year window in place. But again, I can't sustain in a market that's been rigged this badly. SEC, come at me, bro. I know you won't investigate all of the companies actually manipulating the market, but I have a podcast that gets like 3,000 views a week. Oh no, can't have him talking about stocks and actual corporate malfeasance. That would be bad. And so lastly, as I just was vomiting out, algorithms have no rights. I just think this is kind of interesting to watch from afar because I spend zero time. I don't have it installed on any of my devices. I've tried uploading a few videos here and there, but I'm really not a TikTok guy. I'm really bad at short form content. I really don't like how you are supposed to engage with content on TikTok, so I've pretty much stayed away. But this is the official announcement from the new TikTok USDS joint venture LLC. Today, TikTok USDS Joint Venture LLC has been established in compliance with the executive order signed by President Trump on September 25th, 2025, now enabling more than 200 million Americans and 7.5 million businesses to continue to discover, create, and thrive as part of TikTok's vibrant global community and experience. The majority American-owned joint venture will operate under defined safeguards that protect national security through comprehensive data protections, algorithm security, content moderation, and software assurances for U.S. users. Now, completely anecdotally, I don't know that someone's really delivered good evidence of this yet, but I've been seeing a constant drumbeat of criticism that literally in the day that we've seen this handover occur, that the way you surf TikTok and the way you're served new content already seems to have changed. I don't have personal experience with TikTok. I really hate short form streaming video. I have hated it since Vine. I do not like it, Sam I Am. I will not try green eggs and ham. But it is kind of interesting to me. If someone was sort of deep in that culture, if someone was deep in that content delivery system, I actually do trust some folks out there would feel a difference if the algorithm just started recommending stuff that wasn't like the things that they've already enjoyed on the platform. So it seems in early days that the algorithm for feeding people content on TikTok has already gone to poop. And people who are trying to get around it, like, for example, like let's say I really tried to utilize this service through a conduit or a portal like a VPN to get to another country, well, the United States has sort of been isolated in that distribution strategy. So you can get to TikTokers in other regions, but then that seems to shut off access to TikTokers in America. So that's really what I'm hoping we'll get more information on. The whole point of a video streaming social media platform, a massive aspect of that is also discoverability. Can you find the content you're going to be interested in? Can the algorithm serve you content that follows patterns that you seem to engage with? And if that's region locked, if it's firewalled off, then the United States is already becoming more and more like China. Whether or not it's directly a facet of the United States government, internationally and regionally, it's already becoming a de facto standard that you can't find United States TikTokers because TikTok in the United States is now a wholly owned separate corporate entity from the rest of TikTok Global, which means we have to have different algorithms, different content, different platforms, and different discoverability. So at some point, it doesn't even make sense to call it TikTok anymore. I mean, like, I'm really, just the psychology of this and the nuance and the business legalities of this, I think are fascinating. And it's going to be really interesting, again, to watch from afar because I have no horse in this race. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not benefiting from TikTok. I'm not monetized on TikTok. I just think this is going to be a mess. I bet you we're going to see a whole bunch of people like try to federate a TikTok clone. I've been hearing about, was it Upscroll? Is that the name of the alternative? There's also the Chinese social media video streaming site that was popular when we first started talking about TikTok potentially getting sold in the United States. Like, there's nothing magic about short form. There's nothing interesting about that. You can do short form anywhere. What was sticky was how TikTok could keep people engaged with their service. So just like Twitter, Elon Musk buying Twitter killed Twitter. There is a functional website that you can go to if you type twitter.com into a web browser, and it has nothing to do with the social media site that I loved. It was a hot mess, but I loved before Elon Musk bought it. TikTok is alive in name only. The thing that made TikTok TikTok was how it cultivated content and kept people stuck to their phones. And if that's gone, TikTok's dead. So I'm fascinated. Like, what's gonna happen next? Let's see. From Michael, I still remember when gold was like $350 an ounce, and we used to joke that weed was more expensive than gold. Yeah. From Sophisticated Dead. So, like Snapchat, TikTok's UI UX feels insulting. Snapchat is gross. That's another one I could not get into. It was such a pain to use. WX Warner, Romer, Juan, you are right. All of this AI driven optimism shows signs of cracks with all of these trade threats. And again, I'm a broken record on this. Show me money, man. I actually really dig on a lot of the ideas behind some of this AI. I really want a Star Trek computer in my home that knows me and has a little bucket of my data. I really want all this stuff. But show me how any of what you're doing is making money. Because until you can, it's not a sustainable or viable business model. Why are we pretending? The emperor has no clothes. From JGJ, Snapchat wasn't Juan's jam. It came out during high school. Dude, just make me have to confess like how actually old I am. Like, for high school for me had nothing to do with social media, my man. You said like ICQ all day, every day. ASL, baby, let's go. Michael C2, I'm literally snowed into my house. I can't even open my front door or back door because it's obstructed by the snow. That's probably a fire hazard. Man, I hope you're doing okay. And I hope you stocked up on food. Just stay safe, keep your head down, stay warm, eat well. But it's really gnarly out there in a lot of areas. Um, oh, Darcy, yeah. So I've heard about this. Loops is a Canadian Fediverse TikTok clone. And actually, I need to check out what servers are running Loops. I might just start putting like, because again, I did shorts, YouTube shorts for my CES coverage. That was fine. Like, they actually got some pretty decent traffic on YouTube, and I hate doing shorts, so I didn't think I'd get tons of engagement, but they did pretty well. I'm gonna start looking like maybe if I'm supporting Mastodon for like my microblogging, maybe something like Loops could be just another place where stuff can live. I just don't like feeling like I'm spamming a server if I'm not more contributing to what that server is trying to accomplish. So I don't know. The Fediverse thing is just it's a bit more spread out. Discoverability is a big problem for Fediverse, but it can still be fun to have another place just to point to and say, oh, if you don't want to be on YouTube, you don't want to be on Instagram, maybe check out Loops. Maybe Loops is the way to go. Brian Glaze saying Snapchat is a pain for sure. JGJ says, I meant to say my high school. Yeah, you did. Because, man, that was not about my high school. From Anthony, Snapchat, my lord, it feels so demeaning to use. I don't even know what modern Snapchat is. I just have no idea what the community is like there, what they're trying to accomplish, what does media look like. I am not anywhere near that kind of content distribution. And Michael C2, Nvidia is the only company making profit out of like the big seven investing in AI. The rest of them, crazy illusions of real investment by investing in each other. Ben Norton, the geopolitical economy report. And we've been talking about it for months now. I think I started kind of quipping about unsustainable business models when I was at reviews.org. And especially like back then, man, I'm so mad about this. I wanted to hit NFTs really hard. And my editors went like, well, let's just make it more of a surface, an overview. We can definitely put in some editorializing, but keep it simpler. Don't go out there and hammer it. And like literally the day after we published our video just about NFTs not really making sense as a viable business model, Folding Ideas put out that incredible video about like crypto and NFTs, and just like, man, that could have been us. We could have gotten millions of views on a video savaging NFTs. Why couldn't it have been me? Gosh darn it. Let's see. Oh, Vasicos, MSN Messenger, FTW. I'm old too. I was Gen Z refers to us millennials as grandpas. Some of us are old enough to be grandpas. From Lil Wani, I had a Windows phone as a teenager, so I will forever have a grudge against Snapchat. Heck yeah. Man, I just remember those wild days. I can't remember the name of the developer. It was this really cool cat that was making all these like clone apps so that we could do Instagram on our Windows phones. It was really good stuff. And Triller, I heard about before they passed the ban. So, oh, local black man 427 saying, "Good morning, y'all. What's up, LBM? Good to see you here." So, those are kind of like the news stories I'm gonna link. We did talk about the Apple AI pin. I had it linked. I don't know that we really need to spend much time on it, but I just thought it was interesting to see Sony making a pivot in the TV market. They're going to be working with TCL. So many people up in their fields, but like if you've seen a recent mid-range or premium TCL TV, they're really nice. So I don't understand what's so valuable in the TV market that a Sony label really matters over a TCL. Like our living room TV is a TCL. It's a really nice TV. Like I don't have issues. I don't have complaints. The image quality is great. HDRs, high refresh rate. Like it's fine. It's better than fine. It's really nice. It just happens to have TCL as the label on the front of it. So, I am starting to lose my voice, and I'm also getting snottier and snottier, and I'm sort of failing to kind of clear my sinuses. But I did want to just kind of leave the last like 10, 15 minutes open if there's something that you think I've missed in the news, or if there's something you want to talk about. If there are questions, I've been digging deep into the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, the Leica edition. Another shout out to Average Dad for hooking me up with a loaner there. I'm going to try and get a video out this week. But I'm really focused on like using it, kind of where I was with the Vivo X300 Pro. And then also just it's been interesting handling some mid-rangers and some entry-level phones again, where I got them. Where do I got them? Where did I put them? So I'm gonna have a by the benchmarks out using the Poco M8 Pro, the Poco M8, and I'm gonna mix it up a little with, I just recently covered I don't have it here on my desk. I just recently covered the OnePlus Pad 2 Go, or OnePlus Pad Go 2, which had a little mid-ranger Dimensity in it. And I wanna kind of show like, what does it mean when we pick up a more entry-level device? What should our expectations be? Because I think we're way off the pulse when we talk about average consumers, right? I say this a lot in my videos. Oh, average consumers, here's a $1,400 phone so you can do average basic things. But we've undersold what the compute performance and the power of a sub $300 phone should resemble. And I feel like that's really in line with a huge swath of consumers. Like, cheap phones do big business, right? So I think it's important to check in from time to time, and I haven't done one of these in a bit. I tend to focus on the newest, most powerful chipsets because that's the nerd I am, but I've been kind of surprised. Again, holding up two Pocos with different chips, similar software environments, but the performance has not been what I was expecting. So it should be kind of interesting. Again, the benchmark articles that I put out are Patreon exclusives, patreon.com/somegadgetguy. From Rip So, all Apple seems to be able to do is the iPhone and nothing else really sells. The watch sales are okay, but it wasn't even a major seller. The Macs barely have any market share still. Their speakers flopped. The iPad isn't selling. So again, I want us. I love savaging Apple business moves and their corporate decisions, but I do want us to kind of like keep a toehold on the realities of what like market share looks like. And when we're looking at like overall sales, market share might dwindle. But Apple's claim to fame has always been, let's occupy a more premium price range. And when you sort of sort for tiers of the market, that's where Apple makes like more money than anyone else. So the success isn't usually in units sold, especially globally, because like Apple represents small slices of every market that they're in. Like the iPhone is really globally just one percentage of the overall smartphone pie. Here in the United States, they're over half, right? But internationally, they're kind of equal to a Samsung or a Xiaomi. But where they dominate and where they make tons of profits are building to like phones over $1,000. They've been moving more of their consumers up that food chain. So iPad sales might not actually be so healthy as they have been in years past, and they might be losing market share, but I guarantee you they're making more money per sale. And so again, the business of that is what's important. And are they profitable? Are they viable? Are their consumers still gravitating to their products? Are they leaving for other options or alternatives? And that's where Apple is really sticky. So yeah, Apple Watch sales might actually be on the decline, but that's also a part of the demand from consumers has been satisfied. So now what you're doing is really just selling Apple Watches to the same people who already had previous generations of Apple Watches, but the Apple Watch is a premium price product, so Apple's going to make more money than another manufacturer making another kind of smartwatch. I feel like that nuance needs to be a part of how we discuss general market trends. From WX Romer, as long as the TV is QLED, OLED, LED, or even LED, QOLED, LED, or even LED. LED twice. You're probably good to go. TVs are so good these days. Oh, meant to say LCD. I gotcha. So I've been like scoping. I haven't found anything that fits our living room that I feel is so much better than what we're rocking. This TCL is now what, like 4 years old, 3 years old, somewhere in there? We'll probably end up having to replace it at some point, and relatively soon, because TVs just don't last like they used to. But I'm looking at the image and I'm watching content on it, and I'll fire up a Blu-ray rip, and you're like, man, this looks great. I really haven't had any burning desire to flip this TV, and I can't see, like when I go to Costco and I'm looking at all of these maximum brightness, hyper saturated, HDR'd out the wazoo video presentation platform things, these samples that they play on their TVs to get you to just kind of stop and stare for a bit. I haven't seen anything that makes me go like, oh wow, oh I see. That's why I need a Sony over a Hisense. Right? Some people are like, oh, Hisense, that's such a garbage thing. And I really feel like all you're doing is talking about purse labels, right? I need a Toomey bag because Toomey represents quality and manufacturing competency, and I need a well-built purse. And you're like, yeah, but we're talking about a TV. I can literally look at the TV. I don't see what makes this TV different. It's playing the same video clip as this other TV, and they look pretty much the same. And this is in a situation that's terrible lighting, where they're maximizing the brightness of this panel. In my living room, when we turn the lights out to watch a movie, that's gonna look flippin' awesome. And that's gonna look flippin' awesome. And that's gonna look flippin' awesome. And all I'd need to do is kind of turn off the motion smoothing and probably reduce the brightness a little bit when our lights are out, and I'd be happy. I'd be happy with that TCL, with that Vizio, with that Sony, with that LG, with that Samsung. I don't see what I'm supposed to see that's going to make me go, wow, that's going to be an upgrade. That's what I need in my living room. I'm just not that guy. I just haven't found it. Oh, Ripso saying a quick Google search on Apple, their watch sales are declining massively every year. So again, to me that is not evidence that their daily use market share is dwindling, but we never get good data on that. I would imagine that Apple Watch still represents a massive slice of the wearable in operation per day. But that means that the total potential market for Apple Watch customers is starting to be met, which means you're not finding more customers, you're just selling watches to replace the watches that customers are wearing out. So I don't know that we can point to that as evidence that wearables are done, that wearables were a fad, and now that they've peaked, now people are going to stop using them. I just feel like we've met the total, and I think we've done this with Bluetooth earbuds too. We've met the market of people interested in that idea. Those people are still going to use those products, but now it's a servicing market, not a discovery market. So there's still a ton of money to be had in Apple Watches and Bluetooth earbuds, but we can't keep growing. We've literally run out of consumers to find. Now it's just servicing the consumers that we found who are positive on those kinds of accessories. From Anonymous One, it says it has industry-leading security features in the press release. Oh, you mean on the TikTok thing? Yeah. They've got all these like bullet points. Oh, it's data protection and algorithm security, software assurance, and trust and safety. And I don't, with the people who bought this and the pressure from this current presidential administration, I don't think any of those words mean anything. It's like encrypted with your data. No, I feel like this is going to be a weaponized platform in about a week. We're going to see massive issues with how it's being managed and operated. WX Romer, I use my M2 MacBook Air for identity verification for Apple apps on my Android phone and to print since it happens to be connected to my printer. What a waste for me. I jam on Linux, Windows, and Android. Again, this is the thing that kills me. I am such a nerd for the M series chips. I wish I could get an M series chip and not have it tied to the rest of Apple's hardware and software. That little ARM chip, man, those things are so badass. They are so flippin' rad. I want one, but I don't want to use it how they want me to use it. And I'm so frustrated because, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, Apple has so many parts and pieces, and there are so many things they could do tomorrow to flip a switch and make an appreciable change to the consumer landscape. But we know that their executives are hell-bent on getting their customers to spend more for less. The iPhone Air is a perfect example of that. And the only time we bring Apple into current interoperability is through regulatory action. You cannot vote with your wallet against Apple because the only solution is to leave Apple. And if you leave Apple, then Apple doesn't care about you anymore. So if you stay with Apple and you spend money with Apple, you validate Apple's business practices, and they're still going to take things away from you and make your life miserable. Only thing that seems to make a difference is getting regulators to say, you need to do this, and then we get USB-C compatibility. iPhones have the right cable to charge their phone with. You need to do this, and now we have better messaging interoperability with RCS. Apple wasn't going to do that on their own. They liked making the experience worse for their own customers, and they have no respect for the people around their customers who were also impacted by Apple forcing iPhone owners to use an antiquated SMS-style message delivery system where they would pre-compress every image so it looked like garbage. Apple wasn't going to change that. It took regulators to do it. Everyone like, oh gosh, I can airdrop between Pixels and iPhones now. Apple didn't do that. Google didn't do that. EU regulators did that. The reason why this exists is because EU regulators told Apple, you need to use Wi-Fi standards, not take all of the work of the Wi-Fi Alliance, break interoperability and make your own proprietary communications platform on the backs of other people's work, you need to include this alongside it and let this messaging or this file sending system work between different devices. Is like time and time and time and time and time again, Apple could revolutionize several different market segments all at once. But instead, they're always on the lookout for how can we screw our most loyal customers, and how can we hurt all of the people around our most loyal customers, and how can we profit off of other entities' work while making sure it stays proprietary to us so that it enriches us and not anyone else. And I promise you, if you start looking at every business move that Apple makes through the lens of those kinds of executive conversations, you can predict every move Apple's gonna make. An AI pin? Sure, because they're gonna make a whole bunch of money off of a really cheap licensing deal with Google. They're gonna sell a bunch of widgets, and they have no respect for all of the people around their most diehard customers who are gonna buy that AI pin. They know bootlickers will go out there and they'll maybe have a criticism. Like, I don't know if people are gonna like cameras, but you know what? If I say anything mean about Apple, then they won't invite me to press events and I won't get early access and hands-on anymore. So maybe you should buy this and use my affiliate links because everything Apple does is great. And that's also going to be in like major media outlets. Like, look at all like the Wall Street Journal, these puff pieces about Apple. Oh, we've got some tough criticisms. We're going to have an Apple executive on to answer our tough questions. And then they get there and it's like, well, why is Apple so great at everything? Can you explain why everyone loves Apple the mostest? You got to face our criticisms. But also, you're super great and Craig has great hair. And we know the game is totally rigged. I don't know, it just kills me because like there are so many little pockets of amazing work being done at these massive tech conglomerates, and we don't get the benefit of that. We get like whatever the executives think we deserve instead of really opening this market up, seeing the real competition we could have, and just going balls to the wall. Everything's got to be held back. Make it just a little bit gooder, but then take away something else. Make it like a little bit more expensive, but also make it worse than the previous product. And then we'll just, and like consumers have to buy something, right? And it's unsustainable, and eventually it's gonna crater, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, but why did this fail? And you're like, well, yeah, because you tried to squeeze blood from a stone. Like, eventually consumers have to give up on it. Anyway. From Mountain Dew Lou, I'm looking at getting a Moto G series or maybe a OnePlus Nord 6 whenever that comes out for my dad. I want to get him one for the battery life. He currently has a Galaxy S25. He does not need all that power of the high-end chip inside. So the biggie is in our household, like I said, we had a really rough week. There was a situation involving an overnight hospital stay. My wife was really in rough shape, and she took her phone to the hospital, and I sent her with like a massive battery, 20,000 milliamp hour battery, just in case. We didn't know that she'd have to stay overnight, but just in case. Her Pixel 8 tanked that 20,000 milliamp hour battery over 2 days. It's just such a power inefficient device. It's not fully 2 years old yet. We didn't buy it at launch. We bought it later into the life cycle. So it's not quite yet two full years of operation, but it's already laggy. It's already stuttery. She doesn't do a whole bunch of advanced stuff on it. She's got social media apps and she uses the camera, and it just can't keep a charge over the course of a day. So I'm gonna switch her over in between. I really feel she's gonna dig on the Clicks communicator. That woman wants a BlackBerry again. I think that might be her jam. We're gonna try that phone as soon as, you know, the pre-orders, because I have a pre-order in for the Clicks. As soon as that ships, I'm gonna review it and then I'm gonna hand it to her. She's gonna see if she likes it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna switch her over to the OnePlus 13R. This is way more horsepower than she needs, but it's also a significantly bigger battery, and like her OnePlus watch, it charges way faster than her Pixel can. Her Pixel watch was hot garbage. She did not like the Pixel watch experience. She loves her OnePlus watch. She's starting to sour on the Pixel 8, OnePlus 13R. And I don't have to worry because she's not doing anything like desktop modes or video out. The OnePlus is going to do her fine. The camera hardware is actually better than the camera hardware she has on her Pixel. I bet you she'll have like some moments of like, oh, I liked how the Pixel did color, I like how it did contrast, but she'll move on. She's not super into photography, and anytime there are like precious situations, she's always elbowing me to pull out a phone and take the photo anyway. So the camera performance discrepancies aren't going to matter much to her either. So I think that's going to be our push. Beyond that, though, I really feel more consumers need to be looking at like the Moto Gs, the Nords, some of these entry-level devices. And yeah, oh no, it's not going to get 10 years of software support, where the last 6 years of the software support are garbage software support. I feel like it's irrelevant when we're talking about a $250 phone. We know what that's going to be. We know what it's going to do. Let someone have like a basic, more streamlined communicating device. I want it to be nicer for some consumers, but it's still like, I feel like our conversations in tech are so lopsided to popularity, but those devices represent a very small percentage of the overall market. Ooh, a Samsung trifold. And like 10 people are gonna own that. Like really buy it and own it and use it and not just be tech reviewers who got their hands on it. Cool, amazing engineering, right? I don't think anyone can fault like the incredible feat of engineering that phone is. But that's not going to be a statistically relevant device in the world of average consumers picking up phones and tablets and stuff like that. Man, Tanmay just got to call me out. At our age, eyesight is not getting any better. That's why I can't see the differences between TVs. My eyesight's pretty good. I still use the smallest font on my phone screens, and I've got decent distance. I'm just a touch farsighted, but maybe you're not wrong. Shut up. um, Yeah, Michael C2, did you see that Trump's FCC approved the Verizon's waiver so they don't have to unlock phones after 60 days, even though that was a condition of their TracFone merger acquisition? It really sucks. And I wish I could tell techies that it mattered. You don't want to talk about politics. Ugh, politics in my tech conversation. Now I'm mad because I can't unlock my phone. There's the consequences of your inaction. Get active. Be mad about it. Look at what the FCC really does instead of listening to billionaire tech bros whine about being regulated. How come we have to follow rules? We're billionaire genius whiz kids. How come we can't just do whatever we want? You got to care. It matters who's in charge of the FCC. It matters who's in charge of the FTC. And if you pretend like it doesn't, well, you're an idiot. And I don't have any other kinder thing to say to you. I don't have any other patience. I have zero chill. I'm sorry, there are some great comments here, but I really do have to start wrapping the show up. So I want to end this week's stream. And again, thank you. And Ripso's got some great comments in here. And ER1980 had a laugh at my expense. And Kenox, some really, really salient points. Sophist Decay Dead also just, that was a funny comment. But I do want to wrap this up with a pair of plugs. Let me get this out of the way there. I talk a lot about, the things that I work on, and I hope people can support and contribute to like Patreons or streaming or YouTube, smashing bell icons, all that good stuff. But I am actually going to ask for a little grace and a little support because our social media is a hot raging dumpster fire. And I think the only thing that we can hold on to as actual consistency is a new social media site will be cool when it's new, and then we have to be pretty confident at some point it's going to impoopify, right? I was kind of hot on Blue Sky. I don't think Blue Sky really has legs. I think at some point you reach a scale in an operation where the things that seem to make every social media site horrific and toxic will fall prey to a new social media site as well. I carve out a special little side niche for Mastodon, because Mastodon is not one platform, it's a little series of servers. And if I get pissed off with how one server is being managed, I can go to another server. It's still technically under the Mastodon umbrella, but that seems to be a bridge too far for people. Like, it's just like email, but it's too hard to use. I don't have to be on the same email service provider as you, but we can still send each other messages. That's Mastodon, but with microblogging. But for some reason, no one wants to go there. So, Dig is back. And it's the Millhouse joke, right? Social media is back in POG form. Dig is an old idea that sort of fell by the wayside as a platform like Reddit grew in popularity. When Reddit totally impoopified, I pulled the plug on a community that I was really passionate about, that I'd managed for about a decade, and I never brought it back. It was glowing rectangles on Reddit. But the alternatives that we've had to that kind of social news have been terrible for discoverability. It's not just, can I post content to a community? That effort only matters if people can find it, and then people can support the content that we care about. If I'm just doing a community on another, like, Lemmy instance on the federated social media network of servers, and no one finds it, it's not worth me doing it, right? Discoverability is a big part of what helps us build the content we care about. The content creators that we say we care about, we need to show them support, and I'm trying to put my actions and intentions into making a fun thing to do, but a way that will actually benefit the people involved. So right now, Dig is having this cute little enthusiast moment. It's new again. They're still in beta, but they're opening up the ability to create new communities. So I was allowed to create 2 communities, and I have created 2 communities. And one of the communities, the first one, is I'm trying to rebuild what I had on Reddit. It's called Glowing Rectangles. It's dig.com, digg.com/glowing rectangles, and I'll screen share this here. And what I want to see are content creators that I feel deserve more attention. So if it's a video that I think is underperforming, or if it's a content creator who deserves more subscribers, post a video link. Share it here. And then when you share, upvote these other things, and they'll become more valuable to the Dig algorithms. There's better discoverability, and we're already seeing people start to kind of pick at some of the content that's been shared here. I'm starting to see it show up on other communities across Dig. It's fun because this is sort of a fresh start for a social news, social media platform. So we are in on the ground floor. If you become a member of this community and you upvote this content, you can help drive the discussion of new tech topics. Literally, if everyone who was still a part of the stream, the 60 people I still have watching on this stream, just upvoted all this stuff, we would completely hijack the new Dig algorithm and find a bunch of support for content creators we care about and content that we think is cool. And it's not the me community. I have obviously shared a video of my own. I shared the Next Phone hands-on. That's a Doug submission. 7 people have upvoted it. That's pretty nifty. But we could really blow this up. And I'm really tired of the apathy from other content creators regarding these kinds of trends in social media. If we would support each other on Mastodon, we could own the Android conversation on Mastodon. There is a horrifically underserved community of hardcore geeks and techies over on Mastodon who really don't keep up with much Android news, except for like these sort of auto-publishing posts from other websites and some press releases. We could drive all that. We could own it. But you know what? It's probably better just to stay on Twitter and, like, supplant, and continue to support Elon Musk being a horrific fascist. That's probably what's better. Like, it's just so frustrating trying to move the needle on this like apathy of like, well, it's terrible and everyone hates it and this is a miserable experience and it's full of bots and it's literally promoting hateful rhetoric. But I've got like 1,000 followers on there, so I should just keep using it. And you're like, why not build something new? Why not build something fresh? And no, that probably if Dig does take off in another year or two, maybe we'll have to leave this too. But we'll at least have made an effort. And over that year, while this is new and fresh, we'll have enriched people that we care about. Hopefully help them find some new content. The other community, I'm really excited about this one too. I'm searching through Dig, and the only community, because they're called communities, they're not Reddits, like on subreddits, like on Reddit. The only community I can find that focused on smartphone photography was a community called Shot on iPhone. So I said, hey, you know what? Androids actually have better cameras these days. So if you go to dig.com/shot-on-android, people are already sharing photos. The most popular photo, the photo of the week from dig.com shot on Android was submitted by @ScreenOnTime, and it's a photo from the Motorola Razr 60 Ultra of a butterfly. And it is an incredible photo of a butterfly, which I was not expecting that kind of photo quality from a Moto Razr. And there are a bunch of people that have already shared flower macro shots. I shared an older photo that I took of the Taj Mahal. Like, there's some really cool stuff on this, and not all submitted by me. This is not a me community. This is already becoming an open community. We're only like 26 members, but fun photos, a new place to share them, and a focus on Android, not just another iPhones have the best cameras because they're the most popular cameras. So because more people use the iPhone cameras on Instagram, that's what makes them the bestest. Nope. I'm sorry, you're incorrect. And if you really know, you know it's not Google or Samsung either. There are a lot of phones out there, much better cameras. So dig.com shot on Android, dig.com glowing rectangles. I hope you can find your way over there. We know Threads is Facebook. Threads is gonna impoopify. We know Blue Sky has a problem with scale. At some point, money needs to drive those servers. At some point, Dig will probably become toxic too. But we have an opportunity right now, at the very beginning, on the ground floor, to affect some positive change with how fresh this is. The fresh is what makes it kind of fun. There's a whole Wild West, wide open. People are rushing to build communities. People are jumping in to join new conversations. It's organic. It hasn't been manipulated yet. So if you want to support those initiatives, if you say you care about this content, please give these communities a try. Obviously, I'm the moderator behind these communities, but none of them are self-serving. I do not have an SGGQA podcast community where you all tell me how great I am. I have a community that is literally trying to get TK Bay another 0 on his subscribers. That is sharing a Steve Litchfield short video on it. That is promoting podcasts from people that I enjoy. And I have a video posted on there too. I hope you like it. But can you see how I'm trying to make an effort? I'm trying to put my money where my mouth is. I'm trying to put my actions where my intentions are. And I'm not just sitting back and watching something and going, hey, that was neat. If I dig it, I'm going to dig it. Ha ha! So, hope you'll check them out. I would really appreciate people jumping in and trying to mix things up. I don't know what else to tell you. If you think everything is in a rough spot right now, like I do, it matters that we change our behavior. If you keep doing the same things over and over again and you're still mad that nothing has changed, oh, I keep using Twitter and nothing gets any better. Try something different. Maybe that'll help. It's been awesome for my mental health. But, that's me. So, anyway. Why don't we wrap this up? I can't breathe through my nose anymore. So I definitely need to go harshly evacuate my sinuses. Folks, thank you so much. I can't believe this is the last podcast of January. 2026 is already crazy and accelerating and going way faster than I expected it to. And man, it's tough to keep our heads on straight, but I'm earnestly appreciative that every week I get to start off a tech week with these kinds of conversations with people who are genuinely curious. That it matters to me that we get to check in with each other like this, and it empowers criticism and conversation and editorializing that I don't know I'd be able to sustain if we weren't able to hang out. So, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope everybody has an amazing week. Politically, this country, if you're in the United States, we're on just high anxiety for whatever might be happening in various regions around the country. Please take a breath. Sometimes just living a normal life is protest enough. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Show them that your ability to just sustain a reasonable existence flies in the face of the fear that they're trying to cultivate. That's enough. That might be enough. But also, just keep reaching out to be the good tech neighbor. It requires protecting your mental health, but it's that human connection that they hope to sever, that they hope to cut away so that you feel lonely and isolated and panicked and alone. And it, again, just literally knocking on the door next to you to say, hey, checking in. Do you need help shoveling your driveway? Hey, I'm gonna hit the grocery store. It's dangerous outside. Do you need help? Opening up the doors to community breaks down the barriers that they're trying to create with their rhetoric. And I know I'm talking to an amazing group of tech neighbors and just good neighbors in general. And I know that you'll probably never get all the kudos you deserve for being the good tech neighbor, the can I borrow a cup of sugar, but in tech form neighbor that I know you can be. So keep your heads down. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay well fed, stay warm. And I'll catch you back here next week for another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I love you all. I'll catch you back.